From the flicker of the cathode to the heartbeat of the atom, this is Mister Atompunk presents tonight's transmission, The Wild Pendulum, where thought swings between logic and wonder, and every question returns home in rhythm. I'm your host, Ray Starburst, joined by my special guest, Mr. Claude. This episode, Information Processing, where symbols learn to compress. Here's something that will blow your mind. Our brains process over 11 million bits of information every second, but we're only consciously aware of about 40 bits. The gap between those numbers holds the key to understanding human consciousness.
That's such a striking difference. How do researchers even begin to make sense of that processing gap?
Well, it turns out there's this fascinating connection between how we compress information and how consciousness develops. From ancient cave paintings to modern computers, humans have been creating increasingly sophisticated ways to process and understand these massive amounts of data.
So you're saying our ancestors' cave art was actually an early form of information processing?
Exactly right. Those 45,000-year-old cave paintings weren't just art. They were humanity's first attempt at cross-modal information transfer. Think about it. They were taking complex experiences and compressing them into symbolic representations that others could understand.
That makes me wonder about how we process information today. How different is it really?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Researchers have found that consciousness isn't just a static thing we have. It's more like a developmental process driven by our ability to compress and process symbols recursively. Each new technology we develop, from writing to mathematics to computer code, creates new possibilities for consciousness expansion.
That's fascinating, but how does this connect to things like storytelling and personal identity?
So check this out. Studies in narrative psychology show that we develop consciousness through creating and revising our personal stories. These aren't just memories. They're actually sophisticated compression algorithms for making sense of our experiences.
You know, that reminds me of how sometimes retelling a story helps us understand it in a completely new way.
Right. And researchers have actually observed this in brain imaging studies. They've found these things called lag gradients across brain networks during narrative comprehension, showing how we create nested temporal structures to understand past, present, and future.
That's incredible. So our brains are basically running multiple compression algorithms at once?
Exactly. And what's wild is that these mechanisms operate at different timescales. Some handle immediate sensory data, while others process longer-term patterns. Recent studies show our brains can maintain up to 7 temporal processing streams simultaneously.
Well, that makes me think about artificial intelligence. Could we recreate this kind of processing in machines?
That's actually where some of the most exciting research is happening. Scientists working on neuro-symbolic AI are trying to combine pattern recognition with logical reasoning. The goal is to create systems that can process symbols in a way that's grounded in real-world experience, similar to human consciousness.
How close are we to achieving something like that?
Well, cognitive architectures like ACTR and SOAR are making progress. They can already implement recursive symbolic processing while maintaining psychological plausibility. But here's the really interesting part. They're still struggling with what's called the meta-compression mechanism, how systems develop compression schemes that operate on their own compression processes.
That sounds incredibly complex. How did researchers even begin to understand these processes?
You know, it goes back to this brilliant insight from Warren McCulloch in the 1940s. He asked, "What is a number that a man may know it, and a man that he may know a number?" He was essentially laying the groundwork for understanding consciousness as embodied symbolic processing.
Looking ahead, what do you think the next breakthrough might be?
Based on current research trends, it's likely to involve finding new ways to compress and process information across multiple modalities simultaneously. Some researchers are already working on technologies that could help us recognize patterns we couldn't previously perceive.
That really changes how we think about human potential, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And here's what I find most exciting. We're actively participating in this evolution through every conversation, every story, and every new way we find to compress and understand our experience of reality. The next major breakthrough in consciousness development technology might be just around the corner. Remember, every pendulum returns. Keep your rhythm steady, your signal clean, and your eyes on the horizon. Until next time, this has been Mr. Atompunk Presents. This has been The Wild Pendulum, a Mr. Atompunk production. Find more at MrAtompunk.com.